All right, ready to dive in. Today, we're looking at 5 sources all about building a PC.
And I think it's safe to say our listeners already know the basics, so we're going deep, like really deep.
Exactly. We're talking making those smart decisions about PC parts.
So whether you want to build a PC or just understand what's inside yours, this deep dive's for you.
Perfect. So first up, let's talk motherboards. This source focuses on the ASRock H370 MHDV. It works with 8th and 9th gen Intel Core processors, which is pretty standard, I guess. But does the processor generation really make a difference, like for performance?
Oh, it definitely can. Think about what you'll use the PC for. 9th gen processors are generally a step up from 8th gen, smoother multitasking, faster rendering, maybe even better frame rates in games.
So for those power users and serious gamers, the newer generation is worth it.
Could be.
So like choosing between a scooter and a sports car. Depends on your need for speed, right?
Exactly.
Now, this motherboard also has a 4-phase power design. What's the advantage of that for someone building a PC?
Okay, imagine this. 4-phase power design. It gives a smoother, more stable flow of electricity to your components, especially the CPU. Really important if you're thinking about overclocking.
Overclocking?
Yeah, pushing your CPU past its factory settings, for even better performance.
I see. So a stable power supply, it's crucial for a stable overclock.
Exactly.
Got it. So for those who want to get the most out of their system, a robust power design is super important. This source also talks about DDR4 RAM, and I know that's the current standard, but RAM speeds and timings always trip me up. Do those really matter?
Absolutely. Think of RAM speeds like lanes on a highway.
Yeah.
Faster the speed, quicker the data travels between the RAM and the CPU.
Makes sense.
Faster RAM can really boost performance, especially for things like video editing or gaming.
Things that use a lot of memory.
Exactly. And timings, they're a bit more technical, but lower timings mean faster response times.
Okay, so faster RAM is kind of like upgrading from dial-up to fiber optic, but for your PC.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And this motherboard, it supports those faster RAM speeds.
So it's a good option for performance then.
Definitely.
Now this source gets a little more technical, mentioning features like high-density glass fabric PCB and these 15 gold contact IMM slots. What's the real benefit of those for the average user?
It's all about quality and how long the motherboard lasts. The glass fabric in the PCB, it improves signal integrity. Less interference, maybe even better performance.
Okay.
And those gold contacts, they resist corrosion, so this motherboard could last longer.
So you save money and hassle in the long run.
Exactly.
Kind of like future-proofing your PC.
Yeah, I like that.
All right, let's move on to our next source. It's all about a PC case. The Cooler MasterBox Q300L Micro-ATX. This one caught my eye because the source actually used it for their build and said it was really easy to work with.
Yeah, that's a big deal, especially if it's your first time building a PC. A complicated case can be a nightmare.
For sure.
This source mentioned that the instructions were clear and it came with all the screws you need. You'd be surprised how often that's a problem with some cases.
It's like trying to put together IKEA furniture without all the parts, right?
Exactly.
This source also talked about some cool features, like a side panel so you can see all the components inside.
It's acrylic, not tempered glass. So you have to be a little more careful with it because it scratches easier, but yeah, it lets you show off all those cool components.
I see.
This case also has a pre-installed fan for cooling and magnetic dust filters, which is a nice touch.
Okay, so it's user-friendly, practical, and even stylish. Now let's move on to storage. This source focuses on the HP P500 1 TB portable SSD.
Uh-huh.
Most people know SSDs are faster, but this one seems to be all about ease of use, especially for gamers.
Yeah, this source used it with their Xbox, and they were really impressed by how easy it was to set up. Just plugged it in, and the console recognized it immediately, even asked if they wanted to format it for games.
So no technical expertise required. Nope. Plug and play.
Yeah.
Perfect if you just want to add more storage without any hassle.
Sounds almost too good to be true. Were there any downsides mentioned?
The only thing was that formatting question popping up automatically. Great for simplicity, but some people might want more control over how they set up the drive. Like if you want to use it for both games and media on your Xbox, you'd need to format it differently.
Got it. So it's like an external hard drive, but way faster because it's an SSD. And it's specifically for gaming.
Pretty much.
All right, let's move on to the power supply, which is kind of like the heart of a PC. This source looks at the Thermaltake Smart 500W power supply. It seems to be popular with budget builders. Why is that?
It's reliable and a good value. This source used it with a Ryzen 5 4500 and an RX 580, which are decent components, and had no problems.
500 watts is enough power for most builds.
Yeah, especially for entry-level and mid-range builds. Okay, so it gets the job done without breaking the bank. Finally, let's talk RAM. The CORSAIR Vengeance LPX 32GB RAM kit.
I like that this source not only explains what RAM does, but actually walks you through installing it.
Right. And they point out something people often forget. You should check your motherboard manual to see where the RAM slots are. Installing the RAM in the right slots can actually make a difference.
So there's a right way and a wrong way.
Yeah, think of it like plugging your speakers into the wrong output. You might get sound, but it won't be the best.
That's a good analogy.
This source also gives a really practical tip. Use an air duster to keep your components, especially those RAM slots, clean. Dust can cause problems down the road.
Like giving your PC a little spa treatment.
Exactly. A clean PC is a happy PC.
So we've covered a lot, from motherboards and power supplies to RAM and keeping things clean. What are your biggest takeaways from these sources? Anything surprise you? You know, what stands out to me is how much these sources focus on making things user-friendly. The case, the SSD, even installing the RAM, it seems like PC building is becoming more accessible, even for beginners.
You're right. It doesn't seem as intimidating as it used to be. So thinking about all this, what kind of PC would you build? What features matter most to you?
That's a good question, and one we'll definitely explore further in our next segment.
Stay tuned, everyone, because we're about to uncover even more about PC components and take your PC building knowledge to the next level.